this tutorial, we will have a look at how to make a 2D game for any mobile devices. If you didn't watch this complete tutorial, then watch it first, the full tutorial, or you can simply move over to movement, jump, attack or dash section or chapter. I will have the video link in the description box. We will learn about how to make buttons, how to make player movement with buttons, how to make the APK of the game, and how to make the AAB of the game in order to make it ready for Play Store or Play Console. I will guide you step by step. Before I jump into the coding part, I want to thank Sel Jets, Sanes Kitmin, Sergio, Teju, Ninden Nourani, and Joel Blackson. And a special thanks to Himakshi Pandey for purchasing source code of the Maze game from my Patreon shop. If you guys want to get this source code assets files of this game, then make sure you check out my Patreon page. Take membership there to unlock all of the benefits, and also check out my Udemy courses in the description box on Unity 6 and C# game development. So without further delay, let's dive into this full tutorial. Now we need to do some settings. So firstly, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my player in the hierarchy, and let's press down F in order to focus on it. And I'm gonna drag my player game object somewhere in the x-axis 400. So I'm gonna select my player in the hierarchy. Let's go over to inspector, transform, and in the X I'm gonna choose something around 600. And if we press down F in order to focus on it, we're gonna press down F in order to focus on it. I think we need to move over to 900, and 900 seems pretty much perfect. And let's press down F1 once again to move over to our player game object, to basically focus on our player game object. So I'm gonna select my rect tool in the scene view, and let's select our player and let's move it up somewhere. I'm gonna move this player game objects somewhere around here. I'm gonna drag my player game object somewhere around here, and this seems pretty much cool. So now we need to do some settings. So firstly, we need to move over to Android. So how we can do that? In order to do that, move over to top left file, then click on this build profiles in the bottom, and then what you need to do, you basically need to select Android and you need to click on switch platform. So as you can notice, I am already in Android. So you will be in Android Windows, and you're gonna see a switch platform. As you can see, I can see right over here. So just click on it to switch over to Android, but make sure you select Android in the build profile tabs in the left side. So make sure you select that, then click on that switch platform in the top right section. You're gonna see in your build profile tabs, and once you're done, then click on this player setting. But before I do that, I'm gonna open up my Unity hub, and if you're not able to see like this, as you can see, I don't have the Linux, Mac OS or iOS. As you can notice that I don't have it. So if you get the same problem, then what you need to do, you basically need to open up Unity hub. So I'm gonna double click on my Unity hub to open that up, and we need to add the modules. So just wait a minute, and you will see. So these are important settings that we need to do. So firstly, you need to move over to top left file, then build profiles, and then you need to move over to editor. So in the left side in your Unity hub, you can see projects, install, learn, community. So click on this install and select the version in which version you making your game. So since I'm making my game with this 6000.0.58f1, so in the right section you can see the settings icon or the cog icon. So just click on it and then click on this add modules. And once you're gonna click on that add modules, you're gonna see Android. So basically scroll down, you're gonna see Android, something like that, Android, and make sure you select check the open JDK, and check also this Android SDK and NDK tools. And after doing that, click on this install button in the bottom right section. We can see and I already installed it. As you can see, it says download sites and it says install. So make sure you select that and then click on this install button in the bottom right. So once I install it, I'm gonna cut this step. So once you install it, then you're gonna see. So if we move over to once again top left file, then build profiles, and then select this Android, you're gonna see this Android. So make sure you select your Android and then click on that switch platform in the top right section. In your build profile tabs, you're gonna see. And now we need to do one thing is that, and that is a crucial thing to do. Basically click on this player settings in the top bar, you can notice. So just click on it, and in the left bar you can see editor in your project settings tab. So in the left side in the top, as you can see, I have editor. So make sure you select your editor and move over to this Unity remote, and device it will be none. So what you need to do, you need to go over to this device section. You need basically Unity remote section, and then device, and choose none to any Android device. So make sure you just do that, else it's not gonna work. You're not gonna able to check your game during the development of it, basically live development. So that's why. So make sure you select editor, and then go over to Unity remote section, and then go over to device and choose none to any Android device. And if you're not able to get the editor, then go over to top left edit. In the bottom you can see project settings, so just click there and then select this editor in the left side in your project settings tab. Then go over to Unity remote section, then device, and choose none to any Android device. And once we done, we can just go ahead and we can do the settings. So and let's suppose you want to see the game, how your game just gonna look in your mobile devices. Then what you need to do, you basically need to move over to your game tab or game view. So I have it in the top left side, as you can see. So basically move over to game tab or game view, and in the top left side you can see game. So just click there and then click on this simulator. So as soon as you're gonna click on simulator, it's gonna look like this. So I want to check with my Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max. So let's suppose I want to check how our game just gonna look like in Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max. So I'm gonna choose that. So if I scroll up, I can choose it over here. So as you can see, inside our Apple iPhone 13 Pro Max, the game just gonna look like this, as you can see. So since this game is in landscape mode, so that's why I have chosen in the width 1920, and in the height basically vertically or in the y-axis 1080. And you can check with any device. Let's suppose I want to check with Samsung. So let's suppose I want to check with Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. So as you can see, the game in our Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra just gonna look like this, our game, as you can see. And let's suppose you just want to go back, then once again move over to your game view. So we are in simulator tab. So what we need to do, we need to click on this simulator in the top left side, and then click on this game. And as soon as you're gonna choose the game, you just gonna move over to game view. As you can see, as soon as I clicked on it, I just move it over to my game view. And we need to do some settings now in our mobile devices. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do the settings and how you can switch to Android. And make sure you just prepare a USB, because we need that in order to check our game live during making of it. So let's move over to our mobile device screen, and we're gonna do some settings there in order to check our game live, that how it's going or how it's gonna look like in our mobile devices, and how we can make our game for mobile device. So first thing what you need to do in your mobile, so move over to Play Store. So we're gonna search for Play Store firstly. So let's type Play Store, and over here we need to download Unity Remote 5. So just click on search bar and search over here Unity Remote 5. So we're gonna search Unity Remote 5, and you're gonna get this So I already installed, and you can use the Unity Remote 6 as well, but in my case I'm gonna use Unity Remote 5. So as you can see, I already installed it. So what we need to do now, we need to just click on this open, and it's gonna open that up. So just wait a moment, and it says that we basically need to move over to Unity editor, then we need to move over to edit, project settings, and then editor, and then we need to choose a device to any Android device, from none to any Android device, which we already done it. So now what we have to do, we need to do one settings that we're gonna move over to so firstly we're gonna move over to our settings. In the top right section we can see, so basically just move over to your about phone. So we're gonna move over to about phone, and over here you need to move over to detail, info, and specs. So over here you're gonna see, and type multiple times on this OS version until and unless it says you are now a developer, or it's gonna be a build version or something like that. You're gonna get it in your detail, info, and specs, or in your mobile about section. So just move over to that section, and it can be renamed to anything like build version or something like that. So in my case it says OS version, so I'm gonna tape it until and unless it says you are now a developer. As you can see, if I press down by now, I can see a message just gets pop up, says you are now a developer. And once you are a developer, then go back and then search over here in your settings bar, search over here developer option. So search that, and you're gonna get it. Sorry, we need to search it. I'm gonna cut this developer option. Sorry, it should be developer. I really apologize. Developer, and now we're gonna search that, and it should pop up. And if it's not getting, then we can simply click on this cancel in the top right section, we can see, and we can simply scroll down, and we can move over to additional settings in our settings. So in the bottom, as you can see, I have additional settings, or you can simply over here search developer option, and you're gonna get it. So since I'm not able to get that there, so I'm gonna scroll down, and I'm gonna move over to my additional settings in my phone, and then I'm gonna click over there. And then what we need to do, we basically need to scroll down, and as you can see in the bottom, we can notice it says developer option. So just click on it, and you're gonna get, and make sure this developer option is turned on. It's gonna be disabled. So what you basically need to do, you need to enable that. So as you can see, as soon as I disable, it's get disabled totally, and we not able to see developer option. To see one more time or once again, then we basically need to move over to our about phone section one time. So we're gonna scroll up. So let's go scroll up, and let's move over to about phone section in our settings, and then we're gonna scroll down, and we will move over to detail, information, and specs section in the bottom, or you can click over here OS version as well. So I'm gonna tap it OS version until and unless it says you are now a developer. So I'm gonna press down there. Sorry. Now as you can see, it says you are now developer, and we're gonna go back, and let's move over to one more time our developer option section. So I'm gonna move over to additional settings, and then I'm gonna move over to developer option and leave it as enable, and scroll down, and make sure you move over to USB debugging. So this is a crucial thing, and it says that you should connect with a, basically you need to connect your phone with an USB to your PC or laptop. So make sure you do that, and also make sure you enable this USB debugging, and make sure you do that, else you're not gonna able to test your game in your mobile device. So make sure you just enable that, and as soon as we're gonna enable, it's gonna show some danger. So I'm gonna check on this, I'm aware, and we're gonna click on this OK. It's not risky basically, so we're going to click on that OK. And now what we have to do, we need to connect our phone with an USB to with our PC or laptop. So make sure you do that, as then you can check that out. So I'm gonna plug my phone with an USB to my laptop, or if you have PC then you can connect that too. So I hope you get the idea, and that's it what we need to do. And make sure you move over to your Unity remote 5 Unity remote. So I'm gonna search over here Unity remote. Basically you need to move over to Unity remote 6 app. So make sure you are in Unity remote app, and once you are in, then make sure you just take a USB and connect your phone with an USB to with your laptop or PC. So make sure you do that, and that's it what we need to do inside our mobile device. I hope you get the idea that how you can do it. And we need to move over to our laptop screen or PC screen by now. Make sure you connect your phone with an USB to your PC or laptop and open up Unity remote application in your mobile phone. And once you're done, we need to import one thing, that is simple input, in order to move our player game object left and right. To do that, basically move over to this assetstore.unity.com. I will have a link in the description, and search over here simple input, and you're gonna get this, as you can see, simple input system. And once you get it, then click on this add to my assets, but make sure you log in first and then click on this add to my assets. And once you add it, and once you're gonna import that, you're gonna get a pop-up says download or something like that, open in Unity editor. So just click there in the top, you're gonna able to notice. So just click on that open in Unity editor, then you're gonna move over to your Unity editor. And once you are in, basically if you get the pop-up, it's fine. If it's not, then go to window in the top, then go to package manager over here. So just click on it, and over here in the left side we can see in project we have free Unity registry inside our package manager tab. So make sure you select this my assets and search over here simple input. And as soon as you gonna search, it's gonna pop up. Make sure your internet connection is well connected. Make sure it's connected. And once we typed over here, we can see simple input system right over here. So click on install or import button. Firstly, basically you need to click on this import, and once you import, I'm gonna click on this cancel because I already import it in my project. So I'm gonna click on that cancel tab, and how you can notice that you imported your simple input system. So I'm gonna cut this package manager tab, and if I move over to my project tab, assets, and then move over to my resources, I guess. Let's find out first. So I have it inside logins. Wait a minute. Prefabs, we have prefabs. If we don't, then we need to import. So I didn't import it at all, so we need to import that. To import that, what we basically need to do, we basically need to move over to window in the top bar, you can see, then package manager, and over here search for a simple import. In the left side, firstly select this my asset and search over here simple input. And once we simple input, we can click on this import button basically over here, and we're gonna click on that, and it's gonna import simple input in our project. And once we are done, we can create our UI, and it says import Unity package simple input system. So we're gonna click on this import in the bottom. So let's click on it, and it's gonna import simple input in our project. And once we are done, we can just create our canvas, and after it we can create our mobile UI. So how we can play our game. And make sure you connect your phone or mobile with an USB to your laptop or PC, and open up Unity remote application in your mobile. else it's not gonna work, because we're gonna test our game during development of it. So that's why we need to open up our Unity remote application in our mobile device. So just wait a moment, and it can take a few seconds to up to something like 2 or 5 minutes between that, depending upon on your system. If you have a fast system, then it's gonna do it right away. And also make sure internet connection is well. So make sure you care about those things, because we need those. So that's why, so we need to wait a moment. So it can take up to 2 minutes. And once it's done, we can check it out in our project tab. So firstly, we need to move over to our project tab, assets, and then we need to find that simple input. So just wait a minute, and it's almost done. We need to wait a little moment, and we can create our mobile UI. So firstly, we will set up our mobile UI. Once our importing is done, we can just set up for our mobile UI. So just wait. Already installed simple input system. Now what we have to do, we need to make our canvas, and we need to make those arrows. So firstly, let's check if our simple input system in our project or not. So to check that, we can move over to our project tab, then assets, and we can see a plugin folder. And inside this plugins folder, if we click over here, we can see the simple input, and we have the prefabs and all of the scripts that we need. Now we are ready to create our UI. Basically, to move left and right, we're gonna do that. So firstly, what we need to do, we need to create our canvas. So basically, move over to hierarchy, right click or hit this plus icon, then go to UI and canvas in the bottom. And I already created my canvas, so I'm going to select that. Let's press down F in order to focus on it, and make sure you select your canvas. Then go over to inspector, canvas scalar component, and choose UI scale mode to constant pixel size to scale with screen size. So make sure you choose scale with screen size, and in the X or in the width put 1920, or in the height or in the y axis put 1080 if your game in landscape mode. Let's suppose your game in portrait mode, then you can swipe these values. And now we are ready to do that. So let's create an empty parent game object first, and then we're gonna make our buttons. To do that, let's go over to hierarchy, then canvas, and let's right click on this canvas. So select your canvas, then right click on it, then create an empty game object, and we're gonna call this game object to something like mobile UI. So let's call this one mobile underscore UI, something like that. And make sure you go over to inspector, rake transform, then click here and hold down alt on your keyboard and select this bottom right one. And as soon as we have chosen, we can see this mobile underscore UI game object get resized as the size of our canvas, as you can see. And now we are ready to drag our arrows. So basically what we need to do, and make sure you connect your phone with an USB to your PC or laptop. Make sure you do that, and also make sure you open up your Unity remote application. And once you are done, we just created our mobile underscore UI game object. And what we can do by now, we can move over to our project tab, assets, and then plugins folder, and then we will move over to simple input folder, and then we will move over to our prefabs folder. And we can see we have a lot of prefabs. We have arrow all direction, we have arrow horizontal, we have arrow verticals, we have d-pad multi pieces, and all of these things. So basically what we need to do, we need to choose the arrow horizontal. So we have it over here as you can see. So we're gonna select that arrows horizontal and then drag it over to this mobile underscore UI game object in the hierarchy underneath your canvas game object. And as soon as we drag it, we can see by now in the game view, we can see our arrows, but our arrows seems lot more small. So what we need to do, we're going to select arrows horizontal, and we can hold down alt on our keyboard to resize it from center, or we can simply resize like this as you can see. And we can replace this icon, but I'm gonna do it later. And if we go ahead and then click on this play button in the top in order to play our game will be played live in our mobile devices as well. So we can basically check there in order to check our game in our mobile devices, and we're gonna press down and I'm gonna show you that. So just wait a moment, and if you get some errors, then make sure you turn it the USB debugging. Make sure you just enable that, else it's not gonna work at all. And also you need to choose any, and sorry, I'm gonna turn down my music. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move over to my music and I'm gonna turn down that. Sorry, I'm gonna turn down my music. So let's turn down, and now this is pretty much fine, and we can see the game is playing in our mobile devices, and I can touch on my screen. So if I just move my mouse anywhere, as you can see, if I tap on my screen, the game is playing. Basically our player game object playing attack animation clip over again and again, which we really don't want. And we want to check our game in landscape mode instead of portrait inside our mobile devices. To do that, what we need to do, we're gonna click on this play button in the top in order to get out of play mode. And if you get some error, make sure USB debugging is enabled, which I have shown you earlier. So check the process, and also make sure you move over to top left file, then build profiles, and in the left side, click on this player settings in the top, and in the left side you can see editor. So make sure you choose editor, then go over to Unity remote section and device choose none to any Android device, else it's not gonna play your game, or you're not gonna able to test your game live during development of it. So make sure you just do that. And I want to check my game in landscape mode or landscape right. To do that, I'm gonna cut this step. So basically we need for it a build profile step. So basically you need to move over to top left file, then build profiles, and then click on this player settings in the top, and then choose this player in the left bar you can see. So you will be in editor. So in the left, basically scroll down a bit and find out the player. So I have it over here, so I'm gonna select that, then go over to player section, then we're gonna move over to resolution and presentation and full screen mode. We're gonna leave it to full screen window. And what we will do, we're gonna scroll down, and orientation. So as you can see, default orientation, it says auto rotation, and we can also see that portrait and portrait upside down. So this game we're not making for portrait, we're not making this game in portrait mode. So we will uncheck the portrait and portrait upside down, and we're gonna leave the landscape right and the landscape left as it is, because this game just gonna play in landscape mode, so that's why. And default orientation, I'm gonna choose a landscape right or landscape left. So I'm gonna choose landscape right, and make sure that once you making or building your game, then just leave it to auto rotation and uncheck the portrait upside down and the portrait section. So for now we're checking our game in our mobile devices, so that's why default orientation choose landscape right or landscape left. And once we done, we can simply cut this step by now, and we can click on this play button in the top to play our game. But before I play my game, I'm gonna turn down my volume. So I'm gonna turn down my volume all the way to the zero. And sorry, And by now if I click on this play button in the top in order to play our game, we will able to notice our game by now it's gonna play in landscape mode right after it start in our mobile devices, and we can check that out. But the problem that we're gonna get some error, so let me show you first. So just wait a moment. And if I try to press down the right or left arrow on my mobile in my mobile device, it's knowing it's doing nothing. It's basically if we tapping on our screen or pressing down those arrow, basically this left one and the right one, it's playing the animation clip which is the attack over again and again, which we really don't want. So if we hold down the right, basically this one, if you see in the game view, then we want to move it to the we want our player game object to move to the right direction. And if we hold down the left one, then we want our player game object to move to the left direction. To do that, let's get out of play mode and we need to do the scripting for it. So what we basically have to do, we need to open up our player scape. So let's move over to hierarchy, then select your player game object in the hierarchy, go over to inspector, and then open up the player scape. So we will move over to our player scape and we're going to double click on it in order to open that up in Visual Studio, and we have it. So let's move over to update function, and this movement right over here, as you can see, this is responsible for moving our player left and right when once we press down A and D key. So since we want to check with mobile as well, so for that we can use simple input. So what we will do, we can use this simple input function, simple. So make sure you import simple input system in your project, else it's not gonna work. So we're gonna use this simple input, sorry, simple simple input dot, sorry, simple input dot system. Sorry, we need to use this. I am really apologize. Simple input dot get axis, and this simple dot, input dot get axis right over here, it's gonna take the axis in which axis we want to move. So since we want to move left and right, so that's why inside this quotation we basically need to pass horizontal, as we have done input dot get axis. So this simple input get axis function, it's gonna take in quotation basically the axis. So make sure you type this quotation first, and inside this quotation you need to pass in which axis you want to move. So since we want to move horizontally, so we will pass horizontal, and make sure the spelling is correct. Spelling is correct or not, sorry, make sure your spelling is correct, else it's not gonna work at all. So this simple input dot get axis horizontal, it's basically just gonna check which arrow we pressing down. So if I move over to my Unity editor, let's suppose if I move over to my game view and press down this left arrow, then this is simple input dot get axis right over here, it's gonna give -1. And let's suppose if we press down the right one, then it's gonna give us +1 or 1. So it can be 1 or 0. And let's suppose if we don't press down any of them, then it's gonna give us a 0 value. So basically same thing we have done over here. So what we will do, we just gonna store the result into this movement, and this movement can be -1, +1 or 0, means this player game object just gonna move left, right, or it just gonna stand at one position depending upon which one we pressing down. So over here what we're gonna do now, we're gonna store this movement equal to this. So basically we storing the result into this movement, and if I scroll down to my update function over here, as you can see in the x-axis, we just in the x-axis we replace with movement, which can be -1, +1 or 0. Basically means we going over to this player game object, then inspector, then we basically moving over to transform, then position, and we playing around with it with one unit. So now basically what basically this is the thing that we need to do, and we are done. And now if we press down Ctrl S to save our script and then move over to Unity editor, you will able to notice that. And if you a little bit confused about it, then of course I will have a video in the description about movement, a movement, so you can go and check it out, that how you can move your player game object in the left or right direction depending upon which key you holding down or which arrow you holding down. So now we're gonna check that out. Now the compilation is almost done and we can check it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on this play button in the top in order to play my game, and let's take a look on it. So now if I press down the right arrow, we can notice our player game object started moving to the right direction. And if we start pressing down the left one, then we can notice we basically moving over to left direction. So basically it means it's working fine. But the problem is that whenever we pressing down left or the right one, we playing the attack animation clip, which we really don't want. So to stop that, what we need to do, we basically need to disable the left click. Basically once we clicking the left mouse button, then we basically need to stop doing that. So I'm gonna show you. So let's click on this play button in the top in order to get out of play mode. And to stop that, what we basically need to do, we need to open up our player scape. So let's select the player game object in the hierarchy, go over to inspector player scape, and let's open that up by double clicking on it. And let's move over to which line of code, in which line of code we basically pressing down the left mouse button. So let's find that, and we pressing down over here as you can see. So what we need to do, we need to stop doing these things. We need to stop playing attack animation. Basically we need to stop calling this play attack animation function, so it's gonna stop doing that. So we're gonna type this double forward slash in order to make it comment, and we do know that comment don't interrupt our code, and we can put it over here as well. And now we can press down Ctrl S to save our script, and we can move over to Unity editor and we can check that out. And by now if we try to press down the left or the right arrow, we will start moving to the left or right direction without attack animation clip, which we seen earlier once we played the game a little bit earlier. So basically it's gonna stop right away, and I'm gonna show you that. Let's have a moment to compile it. And once our compilation is done, let's click on this play button in the top to play our game, and let's check that out one more time. And if we try to press down left arrow or the right arrow, we will see our player game object just gonna move to the left or right direction. And if I just move my cursor from my game view, still it's gonna work, since we checking our game in our mobile devices. And by now we can notice that our player game object is not playing attack animation clip at all, even though we trying to moving left and right. And we also need a attack button in order to attack on our you can simply say our on our enemy game object. So we can do that, and we can check with any other button. And we can check with something like if we press down S key, then we can simply play the attack animation. So basically what you need to do, you basically need to replace the left mouse button with any other key. Something like you can check with K code, K code or O or P or any other key. Any other words you can use. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top in order to get out of play mode. And now we can create our attack button. Let's create the attack button first. To create the attack button, so let's move over to mobile underscore UI, and we're gonna make this one prefab, so we will have the copy of it and we don't need to make it from scratch. So that's why I just created an empty parent game object first, and inside that game object I just placed my arrows horizontal. So I'm gonna select my mobile underscore UI game object underneath my canvas in the hierarchy, and let's drag it over to this prefab folder or inside this assets folder in order to turn it into a prefab. So let's select our mobile underscore UI and let's drag it over to our prefabs folder. So let's find that out. So we have it over here. Now we just turn it into a prefab. And now let's create the attack button. So to do that, we're gonna select our mobile underscore UI. Let's right click on it, then go to UI legacy in the bottom and then choose this button. And we're gonna call this button to something like attack button. So let's call it attack attack button, attack button, something like that. Not attack buttons, I'm gonna call this one attack button instead. And what we want to do, we want to resize the button. So we're gonna hold down alt on our keyboard to resize it from center, as you can see. And I want to what I basically want, I want to remove the text inside of this button. To do that, let's move over to our mobile underscore UI game object and let's move over to attack button and let's select the text inside of this attack button and we're gonna delete that. Basically we don't need, and I want to replace the background of this attack button sprite. To do that, I'm gonna move over to my project tab assets, and then I will head over to my sprites folder, as sprites folder, and then I will move over to my UI2 folder and I have the square over here, basically the background. So let's select the attack button underneath our mobile underscore UI game object, then go over to inspector image component and we need to drag the sprite over here. So let's select the square, let's drag it over to that field and now we can see it's fine, and we can click on this set native size in order to set it. And as you can see, it seems a lot more bigger, so we just want to make it something around in the width we can make it 250 and in the height we can make 250, or we can simply hold down shift on our keyboard and we can just drag it down or up in order to resize it perfectly in the width as well as in the height. So I'm gonna make it something around 250 in the width, or in the width, and in the height I'm gonna do the same thing. To do that, let's choose the attack button, go over to inspector, rake transform, and in the width we're gonna do 2 to 5. So let's do 2 to 5, and in the height we're gonna do 2 to 5. And I guess 2 to 5 seems a perfect number, a perfect number than 250, I guess. And we need to move this button in the bottom right corner. To do that, what we need to do, we can simply select and we can drag it over here, but it's gonna be a bad practice, and in any mobile devices it's gonna seem any other way, but it's gonna be weird. Your button just gonna be somewhere else. So to prevent that, what you basically need to do, you need to choose your attack button, then go over to inspector, rake transform, then click over here and hold down alt on your keyboard and select this bottom right corner one, basically the anchor. We're gonna choose this one, and now we're gonna choose our attack button and let's move it somewhere from the X, or basically from the left side. We're gonna do something like -2 unread. So make sure you go over to rake transform, then position in the X, and in the Y I want a little bit down, so we can simply select the move tool in the scene view and we can just move it down. So we're gonna move it something like 180, or we can do 150. 150 seems small, so let's do it something like 160, and 160 seems perfect number. And also what I want, basically want a icon something like it's gonna say like a arrow button, a jump arrow, sorry, attack button, because this is our jumping attack one, sorry, attack one. So I want to choose an icon for it. To do that, basically we need to attach a image, sorry, we basically need to create a image component underneath our attack button, basically image game object. To do that, we're gonna choose our attack button, then right click on it, then go to UI and select this image in the top. And what we're gonna do, what we're gonna call this image, we're gonna call it something like attack. So let's call it attack underscore icon. So let's call it attack underscore icon. and move over to inspector image component, and you can drag the sprite or the icon which one you want to choose. So I will head over to my project tab, assets, and then UI2 folder, and I'm going to select this slot and I'm going to drag it over to that slot. And as soon as we drag it, we changed the icon as you can see, and you can just resize the icon by going over to inspector rect transform, then hold down alt on your keyboard and select this bottom right one. And as soon as we have chosen, we can see it seems a lot more bigger. So from the left, I'm going to choose something like 50. So basically move over to rect transform, and from the top I'm going to do 50. 50 basically I want 1:1, so that's why. And from the right I'm going to do 50, and from the bottom I'm going to do 50. And now as you can see, this seems pretty much cool. But the problem is that if we go ahead and then click on this play button in the top in order to play our game, and try to press down this attack button on in our mobile devices, it's gonna do nothing currently. So we need to hook this button with some certain function in order to do that. So now what I'm gonna do, if I press down, let me show you. So if I press down attack button on my keyboard, sorry, on in my mobile device, as you can see, it's not playing the attack animation clip at all. But if we press down the left or right arrow, we can see we're moving left and right. So we need to hook this attack button with our attack function, basically which function playing the attack animation clip. So let's click on this play button in the top to get out of play mode, and let's open up our player script one more time. So I'm going to select my player game object in the hierarchy. So let's select that, then go over to inspector. So I'm going to select my player in the hierarchy, go over to inspector, player scape, and let's open up by double clicking on it. And we do know that we calling it once we clicking the left mouse button, as you can see we have done earlier. So instead of doing that, we're gonna call that function once we're gonna click on that attack button, and we can call the function. So if I move over to Unity editor, then go over to hierarchy, canvas, then mobile underscore UI game object, and then choose this attack button, go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, we can see on click. So we can simply call a function over here from a class in which a game object the script is setting on. So in our case, it's sitting on inside this player game object, basically our player scape. And if we move over to our player scape, we created a play attack animation function over here, as you can notice inside our player C# class or player scape. So basically we need to call this function, and this function basically gonna play a random attack animation clip. As you can see, it can play attack underscore 1, it can play attack underscore 2, it can play attack underscore 3. So we need to call this play attack animation function once we gonna click that attack button. So since we made this function void, basically we just type void and we didn't mark as private or public, so this function gets automatically marked as a private function. So now if we move over to Unity editor and to call the function, so make sure you choose the attack button, then go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, and click on this plus icon, and you need to drag the game object in which game object the script is setting on. So in our case player, we want to go over to our player script or player C# class. So that's why we're gonna select that game object and we're gonna drag it there, because the script is setting on inside our player game object in the hierarchy, and it says no function. So just click there and we will go to player in the bottom, you can see, or player script or player C# class, and we cannot able to see our play attack animation function over here, because that function we just marked as a private function. So we need to mark that function as public. To do that, basically move over to your script, and before you type void, type this says public. And now if we press down Ctrl S and then move over to Unity editor, by now we will able to notice that function. Basically we can call that function by now. So whenever we're gonna click on attack button, whenever we're gonna click on attack button in our mobile devices, then we're gonna call that function which is play attack animation, and we do know what that function is really doing. It's basically playing our random attack animation clip, as you seen as you've seen earlier. So we need to check that out. Just a second ago we have seen. So now what we need to do, we will select our attack button, go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, and now we're going to click on this no function. Let's go to player skip or player shisha class, and by now we can see our play attack animation function over here. So now we're going to choose that function, or basically we simply calling that function. And now if we click on this play button in the top in order to play our game, and then try to click on our attack button, you will able to notice our player game object just gonna play a random attack animation clip. So let me show you first. So now just wait a moment, and if we click the attack button, as you can see, indeed it's playing the attack animation clip, and it's playing the random attack animation clip as you can see. And we can collect some you can simply say some coins and hearts. It's working fine. It's working fine. And now we're gonna get auto play mode, and now we need to create our jump button. To create that, but before we create, I'm gonna select my mobile underscore UI game object, basically the parent one that we created, and then we will go over to inspector overrides and then apply all, because we watching the plus icon. So to get rid of that, or basically if you want to change inside this mobile underscore UI game object prefab as well, then make sure you go over to inspector overrides and then apply all. And now we are ready to create our jump button. So to create that, firstly I'm going to take my attack button and I'm going to move it up. So let's move it up somewhere around here, and I'm going to duplicate this button. To do that, let's choose our attack button, and we're going to press down Ctrl T on our keyboard to duplicate, and let's move it down. And we're going to call this button to something like jump button instead of calling attack button 1. So I'm going to call it jump button, sorry, jump button. Let's call it jump button. Now it's fine. And also we need to change the icon of this button. To do that, let's move over to jump button. Let's click over here. Let's select attack icon, attack underscore icon. So basically what we need to do, we need to rename it to something like jump icon instead of calling attack underscore icon. So let's go over to inspector and let's call it jump underscore, sorry, jump underscore icon. We're gonna call that jump underscore icon. And what we need to do now, we need to move over to this image component, and we need to drag the sprite over here. So let's move over to project tab, assets, and I'm gonna head over to my UI2 folder, and I'm gonna select my this up arrow, and I'm gonna drag it over to that slot inside our inspector mode. Now we have the jump icon. And now what we need to do, we need to call the jump function. So if I select my jump button, then go over to inspector, scroll down to my button component. So we need to call the jump function instead of calling the play attack animation. So we can simply click there, we can go over to player skip, and we can find the jump. But as you can notice, we're not able to find out our jump function. So we also need to make that function public. To do that, let's open up our player skip one more time. So we're gonna open up our player skip by double clicking on it, and let's move over to that line of code, in which line of code we basically making our player jump. So let's move over to that function, and we have the jump function over here as you can notice. And also we can see we didn't mark as a private or public, so this function gets automatically marked as a private function. So we need to mark this function as public. To do that, right before we type void, we need to type this public, and then make sure, sorry, it should be public, and make sure you press down Ctrl S on your keyboard to save your script, and then move over to Unity editor. And now we need to call the jump function instead of calling the attack function once we're gonna click on that jump button. I'm just having the tea. I'm really apologize if you getting some noises coming out. So now I'm gonna choose my jump button, then go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, and you need to drag over here a game object, in which game object the game of our basically the script is sitting on. So in our case, we're gonna select our player in the hierarchy. Let's drag it there, and now we're gonna click on this no function. Let's go over to player skip in the bottom, or player C# class, and we can see the jump function by now. So we're gonna choose that. And if we just go ahead and then click on this play button in the top by now and try to press down jump button, you will see as soon as we're gonna play just gonna press down the jump button, or we're gonna click on that jump button in our mobile device, our player game object just gonna jump right away. And let me show you that. So let me show you that. So just wait a moment. So if I click on my jump button, as you can see, as soon as I'm clicking on my jump button, I can see that my player game object is jumping. And if I just attack on my enemy, and it's dying, and we can move left and right, and we also need to make the dash. But one thing we need to do that, we basically need to call the audio. Basically, once we clicking the attack button, we playing the attack animation clip, but inside our play attack animation, we not playing. Basically, inside that function, we not calling the audio. Basically, we not calling the function which playing our audio. So we need to do that. So let's get out of play mode, but before we do that, let's move over to our parent game object once again. Move over to inspector overrides and then apply all. So the changes over here we made inside this mobile underscore UI game object underneath our canvas in the hierarchy, it will be saved this mobile underscore UI game object in prefab mode as well. So now open up our script and let's move over to our attack function. So as you can see, once we calling this function, we only playing a random attack function. As you can see, basically we playing the random attack. So we also need to call the function which playing our audio. So to call that, we do know we already have the audio manager script. And if you don't know about this, then I will have a video in the description or in the resources. You can get that and you can check it out. So we will go to audio manager, then we will go to audio manager dot instance, and then we're gonna call the function which is play sound. And inside this play sound function, inside quotation, it's gonna take the name the sound which we want to play. So since I want to play the attack sound, so I'm gonna pass my attack. And if you a little bit confused about this line of code, then I will have a video. You can go and check it out, or you can check out my Udemy some lectures I already have this that how you can make it. So now I'm gonna press down Control S on my keyboard, and it's gonna work out fine. And let's move over to Unity editor. So now it's gonna be fine, and we can simply press down on our keyboard Control S in order to save our project once our compilation is done of our script. So basically what we're doing, we basically going over to our player script, and we calling the attack and the jump function. And let me explain one more time. So if I select my attack button underneath my mobile underscore UI game object in the hierarchy, go over to inspector and scroll down to my button component, we can see that we just going over to player script, and then we calling basically going over to this player scape, and then we calling this player attack animation. Basically we just going over to this player scape, and then we calling this function as you can see. And this function basically doing this thing, it's basically taking a random attack index, and it's playing random attack animation clip. And we be doing the same thing once we jumping, as you can see. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it, and how you can check your game live during development of it inside your mobile devices. And we doing for Android. Later on in future, I'm gonna do with iOS as well. So you need to you need to stay tuned on my channel about that. I will make it, because I don't have any iOS. Basically I don't have iPhone, so that's why I'm not able to bring it up over here right now. But once I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna 100% I'm gonna bring up some tutorials on it. For now we just doing only for Android. I want to change my left and right arrow icon. To do that, what we're gonna do, we're going to move over to our hierarchy, then we will move over to canvas, and let's click over here to expand, and we will choose mobile underscore UI game object underneath our canvas in the hierarchy. And let's go to arrow horizontal, and then we have the left and right, as you can see. So I want to change the image of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose the left one. So let's select the left one, then go over to your project tab, then assets folder, basically where you have the assets. So in my case, I have it inside my UI2 folder. So I will move over to my project tab, assets, and then UI2 folder. So let's firstly head over to sprites folder, and then I'm gonna move over to my UI2 folder, and I have the left and right arrow, as you can see. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select the left button underneath my arrows horizontal, underneath my mobile underscore UI game object, then go over to inspector, then image component, and we need to drag the sprite over here. So firstly, I'm going to drag my square, and top of that I want to choose my arrow icon. So that's why I'm going to choose the square or the background, and let's drag it over to that slot. So as you can see, as soon as we drag it, we can see it just changes the background. But we want a icon, say as facing like a left arrow. To do that, we can select our left button, and we can just right click on it, then go to UI, then image component in the top, and we can call this one something like left arrow icon. So let's call it a left icon. Let's call it left arrow underscore icon, something like that I'm gonna call it. And now what we need to do, we need to go over to inspector, rake transform, then click over here and hold down alt on your keyboard and select this bottom right one. And as soon as we have chosen, now we can see this image component or this icon gets resized as the icon of our left background or left square, button square. Now we need to change the icon. To do so, I'm gonna head over to that folder. Let's select that sprite and drag it over to the source image field inside this image component in the inspector. And we need to make our arrow a little bit less. To do that, let's go over to rect transform. So from the right side, from the left side, I'm gonna do something like 50, and from the top I'm gonna do 50, from the right 50, and from the bottom 50, basically doing that thing. And we're gonna do the same thing with the right arrow or right arrow button. So let's do that. So let's select our right button, let's right click on. So firstly, we need to change the background of this button. To do that, we need to drag the image right over here, say source image field. So let's go over to that folder, let's select this square and drag it over to source image field in this image component. Now we need to add the icon. So I'm going to choose my right button, let's right click on it, then go to UI image component in the top, and we're going to call this one right arrow icon. So this will be right arrow underscore icon, and we want this icon as the size of our background of this button. To do that, let's go over to inspector, rake transform, then click over here. Basically we're doing the same thing, and we're going to choose this bottom right one. And as soon as we have chosen, it just changes. And now we're going to choose the right arrow, and let's drag it over to source image field inside this image component in the inspector. So let's drag it there, and we're gonna do the same thing, which is from the left we're gonna do 50. So let's go over to inspector, rake transform. So from the left 50, from the top we're gonna do 50, from the right we're gonna do 50, and from the bottom we will do 50. And now as you can see, this seems pretty much cool, and you can increase the arrow icon a bit. So instead of choosing 50, we're gonna do a less. So let's do something like 30, I guess. Let's do 30, let's do 34, not 34, let's do 30. So I'm going to do 30 in the top, 30 in the left, 30 in the right, and 30 in the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing I think it seems a little bit bigger, so we can choose 40 instead. So let's do 40, 40, 40 from the top, from the bottom, from the right, and from the left. And let's do the same thing with this right arrow icon. So let's go over to rec inspector, rec transform, and from the left we're gonna do 40, from the top we're gonna do 40, from the bottom from the right 40, and from the bottom 40. Now as you can see, it's done, and that seems pretty much cool. And I'm gonna drag it a little bit down, something like this much. And now it seems pretty much cool, and we can play our game. To play the game, let's click on this play button in the top in order to play our game, and let's take a look on it. A look on this. Basically, this button is working perfectly or not. We're gonna check that out. So just wait a moment, and once our compilation is done, we can just go ahead and check it. So now I'm gonna check it on my mobile. I'm gonna turn down my volume. So I'm gonna turn down my volume, something like this, and now this is fine. And if I press right arrow, we can see we moving right direction. If I press left, then we moving to the left direction, and we can jump as well, as you can see, and we can attack, but we need to make the dash one. So I'm gonna make so firstly I'm gonna kill this one, and I'm gonna go over here with taking damages. It's working fine. And now let's work on the dash button. So I'm gonna get out of play mode, and let's create the dash button. To do that, firstly let's select our mobile underscore UI game object, basically the parent one. Then go over to inspector, overrides, and then apply all. So the changes we made to this right and the left arrow, it's gonna be saved into this mobile underscore UI game object prefab mode as well. Now let's work with our dash. So we don't have the dash button, so let's create that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna choose my jump button, basically this one, and I'm gonna press down Ctrl D to duplicate, and let's move it somewhere around here. And we're gonna call this one, instead of calling jump button 1, we will call dash button. So let's call it dash button. So let's call this one dash button, and we need to change the icon of inside this button. To do that, let's click on it, and let's select the jump icon, and instead of calling jump icon, we're gonna call it dash icon. So let's call it dash underscore icon, dash underscore icon. And now what we have to do, we need to we need to rotate this arrow to the right side, so it's gonna make the dash thing something like that. But before we do, I guess we need to put down a little bit our left and the right arrow. It seems up, so I'm going to choose my arrows horizontal, and let's move it a little bit down, something from the bottom we're going to do. So let's go over to inspector, rake transform, and in the Y we're going to choose something like 150. And we're gonna do the same thing with the jump and the attack button. So let's select the jump button first, go over to inspector, rake transform. So from the bottom we're gonna choose 150, and we're gonna do the same thing with the dash button. So let's select that, go over to inspector, rake transform, and from the bottom, or in the in the Y we're gonna do 150, doing the same thing. And I'm gonna move up my attack button a little bit up, something like this much. And now this seems pretty much great, and we need to choose our dash underscore icon, and I'm gonna rotate that. To do that, we can go over to inspector, then rotation, and we can play around with the z axis. Z axis. So I'm gonna do in the z something like -90. And now as you can see, it seems dash, and I'm gonna replace this icon with something else later on, and we need to download it from Flaticon. Of course, I will have it in the resources or in the description box. You can go and check that out. Now what we need to do, we need to call the dash button dash function once we click on this dash button. So if I choose my dash button, then go over to inspector, scroll down to my button component, we can see we calling the player dot jump function. Instead of calling that, we need to call the player dash. And in order to call the player dash, we need to move over to our player dash scripting. So I'm going to select my player game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, and I'm gonna open up my player underscore dash script by double clicking on it. And in there we created the dash function as using, so we need to call that function once we're gonna click on our dash button in our mobile devices. So once we're gonna click on that dash button, then we want to call that dash function, and dash function just gonna do the rest thing as using. So if we open up our player underscore dash script, so let's open that up quickly. So as you can see, we just open up our script, and we calling the dash function once we clicking the right mouse button. At the same time, if we not dashing, and if player dot is ground parameter is false. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a dash function, and we will make that one public, because we're not gonna able to call this dash function that we created over here directly, because this is an enumerator function. So that's why. So let's make a separate function, and let's rename this function to something else, something like do dash, or let's create a function for do dash. So we're gonna make it somewhere around here. So let's make that one, and we're gonna make this function public. Why? Because we want to call this function once we're gonna click on that dash button. So that's why we want to mark this function as public. So we're gonna mark this function public, and for function we're gonna type void, and we have to name the function. So we're gonna call it do dash. So let's call this function do dash. Sorry, do dash. Do this. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets. Sorry, make some first bracket and some curly brackets. Sorry, this should be like this. I'm really apologize. And let's make first bracket, and now this is fine. So now over here we want to call the dash function, but before we call dash function, we need to check some things like if we already dashing or not. If we dashing, then we don't need to dash at all. If we not dashing, then we want to dash. And also we need to check if we standing on this ground or not. If we standing, then we don't want to dash, because this player game object top of our ground. But if the player game object, let's suppose in the air, then we want to dash. So that's why before we dash, or before we call the dash function, we're gonna check as some arguments. So let's use the if condition. Let's make it over here. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets. And what we want to check over here, we basically want to check before we dash. Sorry, before we dash, we want to check that is dashing is equals to false. Basically means we not dashing at the same time. At the same time, if we standing on this ground or not. Let's suppose we standing on this ground, then we don't want to dash. And let's suppose this player game object is not in the ground or in the air, then we want to dash. So that's why as is a second condition, we're gonna check and if player dot is ground parameter is false. Basically means we are in the air, that means we are able to dash. So is ground is equals to false. So if that is the case, then we want to dash. So basically what we're doing before we dashing, we simply checking if dashing parameter is false. At the same time, if we standing if we not standing on that ground, means we going over to this player script, and we just accessing that is ground parameter, which is checking that if we standing or on our ground or not, as you can see. And if you still a bit confused, then of course I will have some videos in the description or in the resources. You can go and check out, or you can check the previous lecture on my Udemy courses. So basically we just moving over to this player script, and we accessing this parameter that we created in the top. So let's find that out over here, and we do know that this function just keeping track of it if we standing on that ground or not. दादा ये ब्लूटूथ हेडफोन टाका ना is ground parameter is ground is false. So basically what we basically taking care of this. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna move over to our player underscore dash script. So now over here we're doing, so we're checking both of them. So firstly we're checking if we not dashing, and at the same time if we not standing on this ground, means we are now able to dash. So that's why what we're gonna do, firstly we need to play the animation clip, which is the dash one. So we will go to animator component, and we're gonna use this dot set bool and dash, and the second thing comma, we're gonna set it to true, means we just checking it to true or basically playing. Now we want to dash, so simply we need to call this dash function, which is dashing our player, as you can see. But this is a I enumerator function, so we cannot call it like typing dash and then call the function, basically the dash function, because this is an I enumerator function. And in order to call this function, we need to use this start coroutine first. So basically use this start coroutine and then make this first bracket, and inside this bracket you need to call the function. So in our case dash, so we're gonna pass our dash and then make this first bracket and then close that up with semicolon. So you cannot call a I enumerator function as normally. So firstly you need to use this start coroutine, and inside this bracket you need to pass the function name which you want to call. So now what we have to do, we need to call this do dash function once we're gonna click on that dash button. So now we're gonna press down Ctrl S to save our script, and now let's move over to Unity editor. So as soon as we're gonna click on that dash button, then we want to call this we want to call our do dash function, and this do dash function is sitting on inside our player underscore dash script, as you can see underneath our inspector tab. So make sure you select your player, then go over to inspector, and underneath our player underscore dash, we can see we have the dash force, dash duration, and the rigid body. Basically means we need to move over to this player underscore dash script or C# class, and from there we can call that do dash function. And do dash function basically doing that thing, which is firstly we checking if we not dashing, at the same time if we not standing on the ground, then what we doing, we dashing. But let's suppose we standing on the ground, then we not dashing at all. So that's why before we dashing, we just checking if our player game object is standing on the top of our ground or not, at the same time if we dashing or not. So as you can see the compilation is done, and now we can hook our button with our dash do dash. So if I open up my player underscore dash script one more time, so I'm gonna select my player game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, and I'm gonna open up my player underscore dash script by double clicking on it. So we have the function called do dash, and we just made it public, so we can just call that function through a button. So I'm gonna open that up once again, and I'm gonna click on cut over here to cut, and let's check that out. So I'm gonna scroll down, and we have the function here, as you can see. Now what we need to do, we basically need to call this function in order to dash. So let's move over to Unity editor, and now what we're gonna do, we're gonna move over to our canvas in the hierarchy, then go over to, so we will go over to canvas, then we will go over to our mobile underscore UI game object, and then let's choose the dash button, then go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, and now we need to drag the game object in which game object the script is sitting on. So in our case player, so let's select our player in the hierarchy, drag it over to that slot, and it says no function, so let's click there, and then we will go over to player test in the bottom, as you can see, or player underscore dash script. Then over there, as you can notice, we created a function called do dash, so we're gonna choose that function in order to choose that. And now if we go ahead and then click on this play button in the top in order to play our game, and then try to press down this test button on in our mobile device, you will able to notice our player game object will do the dash. Now it's done, and we can check out. So let's if I try to press down my dash button in my mobile devices, as you can see it's not dashing at all. But once we jump in the air and do the dash, we can notice we are able to dash. And I'm gonna kill this enemy by pressing down that sword button, or basically attack button, and we can press down left and right arrow in our mobile devices to move left and right, and we can only able to dash once we are basically in the air. But the problem is that, as you can notice, it's dashing in the opposite direction once we trying to dash in the in the left direction. We not able to do that. So what we need to do, we're gonna get out of play mode and we need to do something. So firstly we need to open up our player script, player underscore dash script. So let's open that up quickly. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open up my player underscore dash script. So let's select the player game object in the hierarchy. Let's go over to inspector player underscore dash, and let's open that up by double clicking on it. So now let's have a look on it what we have done. We can see we have done it over here. Over here, as you can notice, we're checking with move. So what we need to do, we need to check with our simple input as well. So this one over here is for keyboard on our PC or for our laptop, but we also want to do for our mobile devices. So we're gonna do the same thing. So if I open up my player script, so if I move over to my Unity editor and open up my player script by double clicking on it, we do know that we created that simple input function. So if I scroll down a bit and move over here, as you can see, I created two parameters. One is simple input we created a function called simple input dot get access. Basically we just use this function, so we need to use this same function there as well. So we will move over to our player underscore dash script, and over here we're gonna use simple input dot get access. So we're gonna use this simple input dot get access, or we can use this get access, or we can use the get access raw as well. So let's use the get access raw, since we just checking with raw, so that's why. And now inside quotation it's gonna take the parameter name. So the parameter will be horizontal because we want to we want to dash horizontally. So that's why inside this quotation we need to pass horizontal, and make sure you spell it correct, else it's not gonna work. And let's close that up with semicolon. So this simple input dot get access raw, it can be -1, +1, or 0 depending upon which arrow we pressing down. So let's suppose if we press down the left arrow, then this over here it's gonna give us it's gonna give us -1. And if we try to press down the right arrow in our mobile devices, then it's gonna give us +1. And if we don't hold down both of them, then it's gonna give us 0. So what we will do, we will store it into this move. So we're gonna store that. So let's set move equal to this, and now basically this is fine and it's gonna work fine. So we're doing for our PC. You can remove this one as well, but make sure you assign the parameter. So what we can do, we can simply go over to top of our class, and let's make a parameter called move. So let's make it somewhere around here, and it doesn't need to be public. So we're gonna create a private float, and we're gonna call this one move. And now we're gonna close that up with semicolon, and over here we're gonna replace this float over here, and now it's gonna be fine. So this move right over here is for our PC or laptop, and this one is for our mobile devices. So we usually use it this simple input dot get access raw, which just gonna check which arrow we pressing down or holding down. If we hold down the A, then it's gonna give us -1, and if we hold down if we hold down the right arrow, then it's gonna give us +1. And if we don't hold both of them, then it's gonna give us 0. And now we're gonna press down Ctrl S to save our script, and we can move over to Unity editor, and by now we can check that out. Now the compilation as almost done, as you can see, and we can just go ahead and check it, and it's gonna work fine by now. So let's have a look. So just wait a moment, it's lagging a little bit. I really apologize for that. Now it's done, and now let's go ahead and check it. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top, but before we do, let's give it a moment. And now it's done. Let's click on this play button in the top to play our game, and let's have a look on it. So whenever we're gonna press down the dash button in our mobile devices, we will able to notice our player game object will do the dash, and it will do the dash in the direction player is going, because we use a simple input dot get access raw, which giving us the direction in which direction our player game object is going. So we using that function in order to get that which direction we going. So that's why we created. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do that. And now let's check that out. So I'm gonna take my mobile and I'm gonna press down the dash button in order to dash in my game. So just wait a minute, and now it's almost done. And also we need to change the dash icon. Instead of setting arrow, we're gonna set it to something else. So now, sorry, we dashing, and we can notice, sorry, and as you can see, indeed we are dashing in the direction player is going. So as you can notice, we can dash in the direction player is going, and it's basically working fine. We can check that out, and we can collect this diamond. Sorry, this game is pretty much fun to play, and I'm gonna kill these enemies. And now we also tie it, and we can click on this retry or this menu button in order to load up our game. So if I click on this retry button, we just reloading the game once again. And if I try to dash, firstly I'm gonna jump, and we can see we dashing, and as you can see, indeed it's working fine. And I'm gonna move it over here. Basically it's working fine. And let's get out of play mode, and I'm gonna change the dash icon. To do that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my mobile underscore UI game object in the hierarchy underneath my canvas. So let's select that. Let's go over to dash button, and if we move over to inspector image component, and basically, sorry, we need to select the dash underscore icon underneath our dash button, then go over to inspector image component. We can see it says up arrow, so I want to change it with some with a different sprite. To do that, I will move over to my project tab, assets, and then sprites folder, and I will head over to my UI2 folder, and over here I have the speed. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna choose my dash underscore icon underneath my dash button, and let's select this speed or this icon or this sprite, and let's drag it over to that slot. So just wait, and as soon as we drag it, we can see by now, but we can see it's kind of bit weird. So basically what we need to do, and this is a single sprite, so what we need to do, we need to select that, go over to inspector and sprite mode to choose single. Why? Because this is a single sprite, so that's why we just want to choose single. So make sure you select the sprite, go over to inspector, choose a sprite mode to single, and then click on this apply button in the bottom right. And as soon as we're gonna click on that apply button, and now still it's not generate, basically that image source component source image field is empty. So we need to choose our dash underscore icon game object once again underneath our dash button, and if we go over to inspector image component, we can see source image and it says missing. So what we need to do, we need to take this and we need to drag it over to that slot. And now as soon as we drag it, we can see the dash, but we can notice it's our basically the icon is facing to the bottom direction, which we don't want. So if we move over to rect transform, then go over to rotation, and we can see in the Z we did minus 90, which we really don't want. We don't want to rotate. So I'm going to set back to 0. And as soon as I set back to 0, we can see the dash icon by now. And we can just make it bigger by going over to rect transform, and from the left side we can choose a smaller number. So I'm gonna go with 40 in the left, 40 from the top, 40 from the right, and 40 from the bottom. And now our icon seems a little bit bigger. And once you are done, basically once you are fine, then make sure you select the parent game object. So in our case this will be mobile underscore UI, then go over to inspector, overrides, and then apply all if you terminate your game object into a prefab. So make sure you do that. So I hope you get the idea, and we can check it one more time that as well. So let's check that out. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top to play our game, and let's check our game one more time by pressing down this test attack and this jump button. And basically we just want to test all of these things, so that's why. So just wait a moment, and once our compilation is done, we can just go ahead and check that out. And I'm gonna take my mobile phone and I'm gonna play. So I'm gonna move my mouse in my scene view, and if I try to press down left arrow, we can see we're moving to the left direction, and we can jump, we can collect items, and we can attack on enemies. So let's attack, and we can see we attacking, and we can also dash in the direction our player game object is going. And we're not able to dash once we standing on top of our ground. We can attack, and basically this seems pretty much fine, and I hope you get the idea that how you can do it. And we getting some error, and now it's basically fine. So I'm gonna jump once again, sorry, and it's basically fine. And we can collect our items, we can attack. So let's kill this enemy. So I'm gonna kill this enemy now, it's fine. So let's click on this play button in the top in order to get out of play mode, and I'm gonna take my player game object once again, and I'm gonna move it in the start of the level. So let's select the player game object in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, and in the X we're gonna put 0, and we're gonna press down F in order to focus on our player game object. And let's select the move tool in the scene view, and let's move it somewhere around here, somewhere around here. I'm gonna move it somewhere around here. Now it seems pretty much fine. And now what we have to do, we need to move over to our menu scene, because that one we want to one as the default scene, because whenever our player just gonna open up our game, we want our menu scene to load up first. And then if our player a player or whoever is playing our game then click on that play button, then we want to play our game. So we need to head over to our menu scene. To do that, I'm going to move over to my project tab, assets, and then we will head over to our scenes folder. Basically move over to that folder in which folder you created the scene. So in my case, I have created inside my scenes folder, and as you can notice right over here. So I'm going to double click on this menu scene in order to move over to that menu scene. And it's saying that do you want to save the changes you made in these scenes, basically sample scene, or which we are currently in. So we are currently in sample scene, and we changed a lot of things, like we just made the player dash with button icon and all of those things. And yes, I want to save these all of these things that I have done inside my sample scene. So that's why I'm gonna click on this save button. And as soon as we're gonna click on that save button, we're gonna move over to our menu scene, and let me show you. As you can see, indeed we just move it over to our menu scene, and we can check that out this one as well. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top to play our game, and let's check out our menu scene as well if these buttons working or not. So we're gonna check that out. So make sure you click on that play button in the top to play our game. And if I take my phone and try to press down on this about button, about button, we can notice we just move it over to about menu. And if I click on this press down on back button in my mobile device, we just move it over to our menu scene. And if I click on this or press down on my exit button, and if I move over to my PC or laptop screen, then move over to my console tab, we can see a message just getting pop up as soon as I'm clicking the exit button in my mobile device. And if I click the about button, we just moving over to about menu. So let me show you. So just wait, we just move it over to about. And if we click on this play button in the top, we will move over to our sample scene, and indeed we can notice we are in this sample scene and it's basically working fine. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it. And if we die and then click on this menu button, we just head it over to our pano scene. And now we need to make our game basically we need to make the apk and also the aab file to publish on our play store or play console. I'm not gonna show you that how you can upload your game on play store, but I will show you the process that you need to make the game in a way that play console will easily accept it right away. So I'm gonna show you that process as well. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top to get out of play mode, and I hope you get the idea that how you can do this. It's time to make our apk. To make our apk, let's go to top left file, then click on this build profiles, and the shortcut key you can see in the right section, which is control plus shift plus b. So if you press down that, it's gonna bring up the build profile tabs. So I'm gonna click on it in order to bring that up in my unity editor, as you can see. So make sure you are Android. So make sure you select Android and then click on the switch platform. You're gonna see in the top right inside your build profile tabs. So since I already inside my Android mode, so that's why we can see build and run. But before we do that, we need to do some important settings in order to make our apk. So let's click on this player settings in the top in order to bring up our player settings. And now what we have to do, we need to name the company name, and make sure you name it to something else. Don't leave it to default company, something like that. So as you can see, I just name it Bad Code as my YouTube channel, and also name the product something else. Don't name it to don't leave it to just like abcd like that. Don't leave it like that and change it to something else. And version we're gonna leave with 1.0, since we just making our apk. We don't need to change anything. And if you have an icon, you can drag over here. So you can move over to your project tab, then assets, and then you can move over to your sprites folder, and you can choose any icon that you like. And I'm gonna move it over here. For now, I'm gonna cut this build profile tab. So let's click on this card, and we have the player settings, and we can drag the icon over here. If you want to choose an icon for your game application, you can drag it over here. So as you can see, I already drag it, or you can simply click over here as well. And I'm going to choose none. I'm going to show you that how you can drag it. So let me show you. So I'm going to scroll up, or I'm going to drag this bar in the top in order to drag it all the way up, and I'm gonna choose none. And as you can see, this seems pretty empty by now. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna head over to my project tab, then assets, and I have the logo over here, as you can see. So I'm gonna select that. Let's drag it over to that slot. Now we have it, and we can just move over to this resolution and presentation, and we will leave it to full screen window. So make sure you do that, and you don't need to do it over here anything, but make sure you go over to orientation section and choose, instead of choosing landscape right, right, left, or portrait upside down, choose this auto rotation. So make sure you do that auto rotation and choose that auto rotation. And if your game in landscape mode, then check this landscape right and check this landscape left, and uncheck the portrait and portrait upside down. Why? Because we making our game for mobile, we making our game in landscape mode. So that's why we just leaving the landscape right as checked and landscape left as checked, but we're gonna uncheck the portrait and portrait upside down. And after doing that, we can move over to splash image section, and we can see the logo. I already drag it. Let's suppose if we click on this preview, we can see the preview. And let's suppose you don't want to show any splash screen, then you can just uncheck it, and no gonna any basically your game just gonna load up right away. But since I want, so that's why I'm gonna choose this show splash screen. And if I move over to my logos and then click on this minus icon over here and then click on this preview, we can see it's pretty much empty and it's gonna be checked. So if I check my show unity logo, and then click on this preview button, we can see Unity logo just loaded up, and after that we can see our game. And let's suppose you want your logo too, then you can move over to this logo section and then click on this plus icon, and you can drag the logo that you want. So since I want this logo, I'm going to select that from that folder, and we can simply drag it over here, or we can click on this select, and we can choose the logo with which one we want to go with. So since I want to go with this one, and if I click on this preview by now, we can see the logo as well as our Unity logo. And you can choose the background color to dark, it will be something like this. And if we click on this preview, we can see Unity logo in the bottom and our custom logo in the top, but the color is not matching, so that's why I want to set the color of my logo. So to do that, move over to background color, then click on it, and you can choose the color that you like. So I'm gonna totally gonna choose a black color, or we can simply click on this pick tool in the top left side inside our color tab. We can just click on it, and we can choose the color from the scene view or from the Unity editor, and we can just choose that color. And now if we click on this preview by now, we can see our Unity logo in the bottom and our custom logo in the top. I don't want my Unity logo to show, so that's why I'm gonna uncheck show Unity logo, and I want my custom logo to show up, so that's why I'm gonna leave that. And if I by now click on this preview button, we can see our custom logo, and once our custom logo loads up, we can see our game just loads up as well. Once our logo is over, playing is over, we can see our game just load up. And let's suppose you want the duration is something like for your logo duration something like 5, then you can put over here 5, you can put 10, but make sure you just put less than 2 seconds. Choose 1 second, and 1 second is pretty much fine, or 2 second it's also fine. And once we're done, you can choose a background image as well, but I'm not gonna do that. So I'm gonna scroll, so I will move over to next section, which is other settings, and we can just move over to that. So just wait a moment, and once we are done, we can just check that out. So move over to other settings, and this is a crucial part, and also our crucial part is publishing settings, so we need to play around those. So if I move over to my other settings, we can see we have a lot of things over here. So what you need to do, you basically need to scroll down, and what you have to do, if I move over to identification, package name, as you can see, the package name must follow the convention com dot your company name dot your product name. So basically what you need to do, firstly you need to type this com, so com, then dot, and type your company name. So basically scroll up and go to top of your player settings, and we can see the company name is bad code, basically whatever you name it. So move over to your company name section and copy the company name, so in my case which is bad code, and the product name, or basically the game name is 2D bad code platformer, so we need to type that. So after typing com and then dot, and we need to type the company name, and the company name I did, which is bad code, so I'm going to type this bad code, and you can do with smaller letter as well, and make sure you don't put any space, and then type this dot, and then you need to pass your product name, basically the game name that you name it. To see that, you can just scroll up in your player settings, and you can see the product name or the game name. So in my case this is 2D bad code platformer, so I'm gonna pass dot once again, and after typing dot we need to pass 2D, so I'm gonna pass 2D bad code platformer, and we can see that we getting an error. Basically we need to remove this two, basically this two is a integer value which is not a string value, so we can just remove that. So make sure you just name it to something else. So I'm gonna move over to top of my player settings, and I'm gonna name the product something else, and there should be no numbers, so make sure you just do that. So instead of calling 2D bad code platformer, I'm gonna call it bad code platformer, something like that. And make sure you don't put any integer value or some icon like that. So make sure you just make it simple. So now the product name is, or the game name is, bad code platformer. So now after typing dot, we have to now we need to pass the product name or the game name. So type this dot, and now we need to pass our product name or the game name, and the game name is bad code. So we're gonna pass bad code platformer, and now this is fine. And version we're gonna leave it to 1.0, and it doesn't matter. And bundle version code we're gonna leave it to 1. But once we making for play console, then we need to make sure we increasing by 1 unit, and I'm gonna show you that. And also make sure you target label choose highest one. Make sure you choose 35 or 36 or 34. I guess play console by now it's taking 34. So target API level, choose the highest one. So we're gonna choose this one, which is 35. So make sure you choose the 31, and target API level and minimum API level, and leave it to marshmallow API level 23. Make sure you choose this target API level to more than 34 or more than 34 or 34, because play or console is accepting that, so that's why. So I'm gonna go with 35. So since this not gonna impact our APK, so we can just leave that, and we can just move over to configuration, and script backend we can choose mono. Make sure you choose mono once you making the APK, but once you making your AAB bundle, then make sure you choose IL2 CPP. It's basically means CPP over here means C++. C++. So since we making our APK, then we need to check this mono only. We don't need to go over to IL2 CPP, and we need to choose this one once we're gonna make the AAB of our game. And now we can scroll down, and we can move over to now our publishing settings, and we can create a key for that. So if I move over to my publishing settings, and we can see it says key store manager. So basically click there, and we need to create a key, basically a password that just gonna keep our project safety. Basically it's gonna keep our project private. So without our permission, no one can develop that. So that's why we need to create a password type, basically a password you can simply say, and you can create the password. So since we don't have any password, so make sure you click on this key store manager, and then you're gonna get a pop-up says key store manager tab. And now what we need to do, we need to click on this key store, and then since we don't have, so we're gonna create a new one. So we will go to create new, and we're gonna click on this anywhere, and we can choose the location where we want to save it. So I'm gonna save inside this Udemy Unity 6 and C# 1, basically inside my project. So I'm gonna create a new folder for my passport or key store. So let's create that. So I'm gonna right click, then new in the folder, in the bottom, then folder, and we can call this folder to something like key store, or we can call it passport as well, but I'm gonna call it key store. So let's call it key store, and we're gonna open this up by double clicking on it. So just wait a moment, let's double click on it, and over here I just want to save it. So that's why I'm gonna click on this save button in the bottom right. And now as soon as we're gonna save it, it's gonna we need to provide our passport. So we can give the passport what you want to give. So I'm gonna pass 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So I am doing integer number, basically a simple password, but make sure you choose a strong password. Don't do this like me, and you need to confirm the password. Basically remember, or you can just note down the password, and we need to confirm our password. So I'm gonna pass it once again, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And now we need to pass the alias. You can choose a string value, it can be anything, it can be name, it can be anything like that. So I'm gonna call it something like bat, and we need to pass over here password as well, so which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and we need to pass it once again over here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And now we can see in the bottom says add key gets enabled. And now what we need to do, we need to simply click on this add key, and now it's gonna create the key store, basically a password for our safety of our game. And so click on that add key, and once you making the game for second time, then you need to provide the password. Basically if you making the apk, or I guess apk, but if you making the aab, then you need to pass the password, and it's compulsory once you making the aab bundle of your game. And it says, do you want to set them as your project key store and project key? Yes, I do want, so I'm going to click on this yes. And once we done, we can choose it now. And we're gonna get a pop-up, just wait a moment, and we need to pass the password over here. So firstly we can notice that the password is already provided, and we can see the pass is keystore slash user dot keystore, and we can see the alias is pat, and we can see the password over here as well. So we don't need to, but once we making for the second time, then we need to provide the password. Basically we need to move over to key store folder, and then we need to provide the password. And once we are done with all of these things, and now we have done all of these things, and we can just go ahead. And let's suppose you want to choose the password, then you can click on this select, and then click on this browse, and you can choose the folder where you save it. So in my case this key store, so you can select that folder and click on this open, and it's gonna open up. So since it's already done, I'm not gonna do it. And once we done, we can simply cut this step by now, and it's basically means fine, and we are ready to create the apk. To create that, we will go over to top left file, then build profiles in the bottom once again. And now what we need to do, we need to check once again, and if we go to platform settings, we can see we're gonna uncheck this build a app bundle Google Play, as you can see. But once we making the AAB, then we need to check this one. So we making the APK for now, so we can just skip this part, and we can simply click on this build and run in the top right section inside our build profile tabs. So let's click on it, and now it's gonna take us to a folder where we want to create. So let's create a separate folder for our APK. So we're gonna create a new folder, so let's right click, then new in the bottom, then folder, and we're gonna call this folder to something like apk build. So let's call it apk build. Let's call it apk build, and then we're gonna open up this folder by double clicking on it, and we have to name the apk or the game. So I'm gonna call this game to something like Batcode Platformer, as we name it the product there. So make sure you just name it to same, or you can choose a different name as well, but it's gonna be a preferable if you choose the same name. I would suggest you to choose the same name as you pass inside your product name, so which is Batcode Platformer. So I'm gonna name that Batcode Platformer, and once we're done, we can click on the save button, and make sure you connect your phone with an USB to your laptop, else it's not gonna work. And we can see that we're getting an error, so we're gonna click on this yes. Basically what we need to do, we need to wait, and if it's not working, make sure. So basically what we need to do, we need to connect our phone with an USB. So I'm gonna open this up, and by now if I click on this build and run, and then choose this apk build folder, and then click on this open, then save, and it's gonna be fine. And we can see we're getting some error, so we need to fix this error, and we're gonna take a look on this error in the next lecture. Or and then we got the problem is that what we need to do, we need to move over to top left file, build profiles, and we have done the mistake here, and I'm gonna show you that. So just wait a moment. So let's click on this player settings in the top inside our build profile tabs, and over here we need to select the player in the left side in our project settings tab. then go over to your other settings section, and over here scroll down and make sure you check the ARM 7, sorry, ARM 7 or something else. Yes, ARM V7. So make sure it was unchecked. So what we need to do, we need to check it. Make sure you check that, and also you need to do some settings, and make sure you script backend to choose mono. Once we're making the APK, don't select IL2 CPP, IL2 CPP, and make sure you target API, choose the highest one, and leave it to default or the minimum, which is Android 6.0, and I have chosen target API level, which is Android 15.0. And also make sure you just put the package name com dot, and you need to pass the company name, and it should not be any integer value, and then dot, you need to pass your project name. And once you done all of these things, then you can simply cut this step. And what you have to do now, inside this build profile tabs, make sure you don't check this a app bundle, build app bundle Google Play. So make sure you uncheck that, or basically leave it as it was default, but basically as it was unchecked, so just leave that. And also make sure you don't check the export project once you making the APK. So make sure you do that, you leave this as unchecked, which is export project, as well as this build app bundle Google Play as unchecked, just leave like that. And once you are done, you can simply click on this build and run. In the top right side, we can see inside our build profile tabs, so just click there, and you need to choose the folder in which folder you want to place it. So I'm gonna put inside my APK folder, which I already created. So I'm gonna double click on it in order to open that, and we need to name the APK what we want to name it. So we need to name the APK what we want to name it. So I'm gonna call this one something like bad code, bad code, bad code platformer. So I'm gonna call it bad code platformer, platformer, sorry, platformer. And after doing that, you can just click on this save button. And once we're gonna save that, we will able to basically make the APK. But we getting a problem says please provide password. And as we know that we created a key store, and inside there we just put it a password, and we need to provide the password because we making the build or the APK or the AAB bundle. So we need to provide the password. And in order to provide the password, so I'm gonna click on this OK or that card tab. So what you need to do, you need to click on this player settings in the top bar inside your build profile tabs. And then what you have to do, you need to scroll down to the bottom. So we will move over to our publishing setting. So make sure move over to your publishing settings, and over here we need to provide the password. As you can see, a key store and user dot key store, basically this field is empty, so we can put the password. But before we put the password, make sure you click on this select over here, and then click on this browse, and you need to choose the folder where you just put it your key store. So in my case, this key store folder that I have created, so we need to open that up by double clicking on it. And then you need to choose this user inside that key store folder, choose that, and then click on this open button. And once you're gonna open that, what we have to do now, we need to provide the password. And make sure you remember the password. And the password is 1234567 8. So make sure you provide the correct password. And alias, we have name it bad, so we're going to choose bad. And once again, you need to provide the password here as well. So make sure you basically pass the same password, which is 1234567 8, as I have done over here. But choose a strong password. If you making your game by yourself, then put a strong password, don't put a basically weak password, choose a strong password instead. And once we're done, we are ready to build now. So we can simply cut this tab, and let's click on this build and run one more time in the top right section inside our build profile tabs. And now what we're gonna do, we need to choose a folder where we want to place it, and we're gonna put the apk inside this apk build folder, as you can see. And I'm gonna leave the name as code platformer. And after doing that, let's click on the save button, and it's gonna create our game, our apk right away. And make sure you basically what make sure you just open up your basically mobile device, basically connect your phone with an usb to your laptop, else it's not gonna work. And also make sure usb debugging is enabled in your phone, so make sure you do that. So firstly, you need to move over to developer option, then you need to enable the usb debugging, else it's not gonna import apk to your game. So you need to make sure that. Now as you can see, it's almost done, and we basically need to wait few seconds. And once we done, we're gonna go ahead and we can play our game. And it's almost done by now, so just wait. And we can see, if we move over to our console tab, we just get a message says build completed with a result of succeed. But the problem is that we cannot play the game right away in our mobile devices. So basically what we need to do, we need to manually drag our apk to our phone. But before you drag your apk inside your phone, make sure you just move over to your mobile device, and instead of charging this device via USB, select file transfer. So I'm going to select my file transfer inside my mobile devices. And once we done, we can just find the location where we just made the build. So I have done inside my local disk F, so I'm going to move over there. So inside my local disk F, then I'm going to move over to my unity underscore games by double clicking on it. And I have it over here, Udemy Unity 6 and C Sharp, as you can see. And we created a folder called APK Build, as you can notice. So we're gonna open that up by double clicking on it, and we can see the APK over here says bad code platformer. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna drag it manually inside our phone. But before you put your phone, make sure you connect it with an USB with your laptop or PC, and make sure USB file transfer is on instead of charging. So make sure you do that, and also make sure the developer option is enabled, as well as the USB debugging, else it's not gonna work at all. So we're gonna choose our bad code platformer, and let's drag it over to our these mobile devices. Basically I have Redmi 13C 5G, so basically I am dragging there, and it says mtb USB device, basically my phone. And it's gonna take few moments to import our apk inside our mobile device. And once we done, we can just go ahead on our mobile screen, and we can test our apk of the game, and we can play our game. And now it's done, and we can just move over to our mobile screen. And you're gonna get some error if I cut this tab and then move over to my console tab. We can get some errors, something like says installation failed with the following output, or you can get a error message something like could not find any valid targets to launch on for Android. If you get that, then make sure you just drag it your apk manually inside your phone, because it's not able to find my Android phone or mobile devices or any target platform. So that's why it's throwing us some errors inside our console tab. So I hope you get the idea, and once we done, we can simply cut this tab by now, and we can just move it over to our mobile screen in order to install our apk. And we can play our game to test our game, basically to test our game, how it's gonna look like inside our mobile phone, and we can play the game right away. So open up your mobile phone. So we manually import it. What we need to do, we need to open up file manager. So I'm gonna search over here file manager, and we will see our apk, which is bad code platformer apk, as you can see right over here. So I'm gonna click on it, and we're gonna click on this install button, and it's gonna check for some securities, and we're gonna click on this scan app. and our APK basically it's fine, it's not taking any data from our player, so it's basically fine. And once our check is complete or scanning, we can just go ahead and we can play our game. So just wait a moment, and once it's done we can just go ahead and we can open up our game in order to play that. And we named the APK as you can see, which is Code platformer. You can name it to anything like that. It's basically up to you, but make sure you don't put an integer value like 1 2 3 4 like that, or else it's gonna give some errors. So that's why. As you can see, now we can open up our game, and the game just getting open up. Basically turn off your data. I really apologize for taking a little bit a longer time. So I'm gonna click on this open in the bottom right in my mobile devices, and now it's gonna open up our game and we are ready to play our game. And just wait a moment, our logos just load up and we can see our game. By now I just turned down the volume, and as you can notice our button just gets overlap. So what you can do, you can basically check once you making the game, so you can test it out once you making for Android. So I'm gonna click on this play button in the top. We can kill these enemies and we can collect these coins, and we can just kill these enemies as well. And now it's basically working fine. We can move left and right, we can attack, and we can do all of these things as you can see. Now I'm gonna attack on this enemy as well. It's fine. Sorry, oh my god, we are just, let's kill this enemy, and this is fine. And our game seems pretty much cool on our mobile device, and I hope you get the idea that how you can create this for mobile devices, basically the APK. And now we need to make the AAB build, and before that we need to arrange the UI, basically menu UI. We need to arrange main menu and the about menu and all of those things. So let's do that. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it, and I'm gonna end the video over here. Getting some bugs is that our button seems overlapping in our mobile device. To fix that, what we need to do, we can check it out in our mobile device right away. We can just open up our mobile device. So I'm gonna open up, and make sure you connect it with an USB, USB with to your laptop or PC. So you can check out and you can open up the Unity remote application. Or what else you can do, you can just move over to you can move over to your game view or game tab. As you can see, I have it in the top left side. So go over to your game view tab or game view, then click on this game in the top left side, and then click on this simulator. And as soon as we're gonna choose our simulator, you will see that we can check our game live in Unity editor, how it's gonna look like in our mobile devices. And let me show you, it's gonna take a little bit moment. So make sure you move over to your game view or game tab, and then click on this game tab, or click on this game in the top left side. You will see inside your simulator, inside your game view. As you can see, indeed we can notice that our game seems our button seems that it's overlapping with our menu header. So what we need to do, we need to fix it. We can check with any other mobile devices. So I'm gonna check with my something like iPhone 13 Pro. I'm gonna check with that. To check that out, let's click on this top. In the top says Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5. So basically click there, and you can choose the device, in which device you want to check with. So I'm gonna choose Apple. We can go with any phone. We can go with I'm gonna go with iPhone 13 Pro. So let's go with iPhone 13 Pro or 13 Pro Max. And just wait a minute, and we still can see the button just overlapping. So what we need to do now, we need to fix it. To fix it, let's move over to our canvas in the hierarchy. So let's select the canvas, and we're gonna press down F in our keyboard in order to focus on our canvas game object. So just wait a few seconds. And once we're gonna move over to our canvas, we need to arrange our buttons, basically the about button, play button, and the exit button perfectly, so it's not gonna overlap. And we need to do the same things with our about menu. So let me show you. So just wait a minute, and we have to do that. And once you're done, you can make the apk once again and you can just test it out, and we can see our main menu. So let's go over to hierarchy canvas, and let's select the main menu, and we're gonna select the background underneath our main menu, and let's select the red tool in the scene view, and we can hold down alt on our keyboard, and we can resize this main menu like this. As you can see now, it's pretty much seems fine. And we can select the button underneath our background in the hierarchy, and let's drag it a little bit down, something like this much. And we can drag it down. So I'm going to choose my exit button in the bottom, and let's drag it a little bit down. So I'm going to drag it a little bit down, and let's choose the about button. Let's move it as well down, and we're going to choose the play button, and let's move it down. And now we can see our button doesn't seem overlapping by now, so we can simply move over to our main menu, basically the parent game object, as we turn it into a prefab. Then go over to inspector, overrides, and then apply all. And now we're going to do the same thing with our about menu. So I'm going to choose my main menu. Let's go over to inspector, let's uncheck that, basically means we're disabling. And we will choose the about menu underneath our canvas in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector and check it, and we can see our about menu. So we need to resize this as well, it seems kind of bit weird. So we're going to choose the background underneath our about menu, and we're going to hold down alt on our keyboard to resize it from center. And I'm going to drag down my back button a little bit down, or we can just leave it like this, and it's also seem pretty much good, as you can notice. And once you are satisfied, then make sure you select the parent, go over to inspector, overrides, and then apply all. And I'm going to choose my about menu, go over to inspector, and I'm going to uncheck, basically disabling. And I'm going to choose my main menu underneath my canvas, go over to inspector, and we're going to check it, means we just enabling that. And once you are satisfied, then you can simply press down Ctrl S on your keyboard to save your project. And once you save it, you can just make the apk once again by going over to top left file, then build profiles, and then you can click on this build and run in the top right side inside your build profile tabs, and then select this bad code platformer, click on the save. And do you want to replace which is already exists? So it says bad code platformer dot apk already exists, do you want to replace? So just click on this yes, and then click on save, and you just gonna make that. I'm not gonna do it, so that's why I'm gonna click on no, and I'm gonna cut this step. So I hope you get the idea that how you can just prevent that to prevent overlapping buttons with your header. So you can just arrange them, and this is a perfect way to do that. Basically, once you making your game for mobile devices, then make sure you just move over to your game view. So we are in simulator, so we're gonna go to our game view once again. So make sure go over to game view or game tab. In the top left side you can see game, so just click there, and then click on this simulator, and over here you can see the devices that you want to check with, and you can check any device you like, as you can see. So inside our Google Pixel 2 phone, it's gonna look like this. And if I choose my Samsung Galaxy 20 Ultra 1, so if I select that, this one, as you can see the game in our Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra 5G, it's gonna look like this inside our this phone. So you can check with any phone, it's basically up to you. So basically that is the thing, and we can simply press down one more time. Control is on our keyboard in order to save our project. So I'm gonna hit Control S once again to save my project. It's time to make our game for Play Store. Basically we need to make the AAB bundle. To do that, we will head over to top left file, then build profiles in the bottom, and we need to click on this player settings in the top, and we need to change some settings. So firstly, name your company name. Don't leave it to default as I have explained it earlier. So basically do the same thing, and also name the product something else, and version leave it to 1.0 once you making for the first time. And let's suppose you making for the second time, then you can put 2.0, or you can put 1.1 as well, or 1.2. But make sure you just increase by 0.1 or 1 unit every single time you making the AAB bundle for Play Store. So make sure you do that, else it's not gonna work at all, or Play Console not gonna accept. So that's why you need to increase the version. And after doing that, move over to other settings. I already explained it, this resolution and presentation section inside my APK lecture or APK chapter, so you can go and check that out. So we're simply just gonna move over to our other settings, and over here we need to do some settings, and those are pretty much important in order to publish our game in Play Store, or basically Play Store not gonna take our game if we don't do this setting. So what we need to do, we need to scroll down, and firstly make sure you go over to identification, and over here says override default package. So I'm going to scroll down. As you can see right over here, it says override default package name, and package name, make sure you firstly type com, then dot, then you have to pass the company name, what you name it, and make sure you just put it in smaller letters. It's basically doesn't matter, and don't make any space between these words, or between these words. Make sure you do that. Basically don't make any space, and then after typing dot once again, and then you have to pass your product name, or basically the game name. So since we're making for the first time, so we're gonna leave the version 1.0, but if we're making second time, then we need to increase by 1.1, or we can set it to 2.0 as well. Or it's basically up to you, but make sure you increase that. And also you need to increase the bundle version code. I'm gonna leave it to 1 because we're making the game for the first time, so that's why I'm leaving to 1. And let's suppose you making for second time, then make sure you put 2, and let's suppose you make fourth time, then make sure you put bundle version 4, or more than 4. You can put 5, you can put 6, but number should be greater than the previous one. And minimum API level, leave it to Android 6.0 Marshmallow, and make sure target API level, choose the highest one, more than 34 or 34, more than of it. So make sure you do that, because I guess right now Play Console is taking target API level more than 34 or 34 or 35. So I have chosen 35. And after doing that, make sure you go over to configuration section, and over here is script backend 2. You need to choose this IL2 CPP, because basically our C# code just gonna convert into C++, and Unity just gonna take care of it. IL2 CPP basically means right over here, CPP over here means C++, so it's gonna convert. But make sure you check this IL2 CPP, because we're making the bundle for our Play Store or Play Console. So you need to choose this, and this is crucial part. And after doing that, you need to scroll down, and you need to check this ARM64. So make sure you check this ARM64, because it's pretty much important. So we need to check that, else Play Console or Play Store not gonna take our AAB bundle or the game. So make sure you check this ARM64, and you can uncheck the ARM-v7, but I'm gonna leave as checked. So make sure you check this ARM64, because if you don't check that, then Play Console not gonna take your AAB bundle of your game. And after doing that, we can scroll down, and after that basically we don't have to do anything. So we can simply move over to our publishing setting, and over here we need to provide the password. Before we provide the password, we need to find out the key store that we created already. To find that, you need to click on this select, and then you need to click on this browse, and you need to find it where you created. So we do know that we created a key store folder, as you can see. So we're gonna open that up by double clicking on it, and we're gonna select the user, and we will click on this open button in the bottom right. And after doing that, we need to provide the password, and make sure you remember the password. So in my case, it was 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and also we need to pass the password here as well, and the alias is bad, we can see, and we need to pass the password here as well. So we need to password once again. Basically we need to put once again. So we're gonna put 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Make sure you choose a strong password, don't choose a weak password. So for tutorial I'm just using the weak password, but if you're making your game yourself and you just want some privacy, then make sure you choose a strong password, and it's highly recommend from me. So make sure you choose a strong password, and once we provided our password, we can just simply cut this step, which is our project settings step, and we can move over to our build profile tabs one more time, and we can click on this build and run. But before we click on this build and run, what we need to do, we need to move over to this platform settings, and over here make sure you check this build app bundle Google Play. So make sure you check this one, else it's not gonna make the AAB bundle for your game, and play console not gonna accept it. So that's why you need to check this one. It says build app bundle Google Play, so make sure you check that one. And after doing that, you can click on this build and run in the top right side in your build profile tabs. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it, and make sure you have done as I did over here, else it's not gonna work at all, or basically play console not gonna take your game at all. So that's why we need to check every settings step by step. And after doing that, we can click on this build and run in the top right side inside our build profile tabs, and we can choose a folder where we want to place it. So firstly I will move over to my main project folder, which is whatever I have the name I have named my project. So in my case Udemy Unity 6 and C sharp 1 in bracket, as you can see. So I'm gonna click there to move over to main folder, and now I'm gonna create a AAB folder for this, and we can see the file type just gonna be AAB, as you can see. So let's create a folder for that. So I'm gonna right click, new in the bottom, and then folder, and I'm gonna call this folder to something like AAB. Let's call it AAB build. Let's call it AAB build. And after doing that, we're gonna hit enter to create that folder, and let's open that folder by double clicking on it. And now we need to name the application or the game what we want to name it, and make sure you just name as you did inside your product name section. So I just name it, I guess, bad code platformer. So I'm gonna name it over here as well. So I'm gonna call it bad code platformer. And after doing that, we can simply click on the save button in the bottom right to create the AAB, and make sure you connect your phone with an USB. And it says that player settings active, input setting so unsupported. We're gonna click on this yes. So basically it's fine. And make sure you connect with an USB to your phone, to your basically with an USB to your laptop or PC, your phone. Make sure you connect that, else it's not gonna import that. So make sure you just do that. Connect your phone with an USB to your laptop or PC, and make sure the developer option is enabled, and also the USB debugging is enabled. So you can just move over to your developer option, and you can find the USB debugging section, and make sure you just enable that, else it's not gonna work at all. So make sure you do that. And once we're done, we can just create our AAB bundle for our Play Store in order to accept that. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it, and it's gonna take up to something like 20 to 30 minutes. It can take up to 1 hour as well, but it's gonna totally depend upon on your system. If you have a fast system, then in your case it's gonna do it right away. But if you have slow system like me, then it can take up to 40 minutes. If you making the build for the first time, then it can take a little bit longer time than as usual. But if you making for the second time basically the build, then it can take less number than you made it firstly. So I hope you get the idea. And That's it.